Welcome to the Financial Flow. Please like and subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to stay up on our latest videos. What are plastics? In the early 1900s, plastic began to be produced. It was advertised as a substance with 1,000,000 applications, and while it was slowly making money and gaining popularity, it was far from reaching its true earning potential. When World War II broke out, the government began placing a high priority on the creation of this new material because it was both extremely profitable and extremely useful. After all, wars are not free. As you can see, the military needed funding to continue fighting the war, and the plastics industry had enormous potential that was just waiting to be realized. Thus, the United States saw a 300% increase in plastic production during World War II alone. In cars, warplanes, paper and glass packaging, and even furniture, plastic has replaced steel, and because oil and natural gas are used to make plastic, new plastic businesses unexpectedly appeared among the oil tycoons. With the support of the fossil fuel industry, there was only upward movement. It's difficult to convey just how much plastic changed the game for businesses. Almost everything was made of plastic. However, because plastic was so useful and long-lasting, people began to hold on to their plastic goods. You had a problem with the fact that they weren't being thrown away after just one use. If customers keep using your plastic, you can't turn them into repeat customers, which is where the real money is. So, the plastics industry began a massive advertising campaign, costing millions of dollars to persuade people not to save dirty plastics, and it began to work. But then hippies showed up. You see, not everyone appreciated plastic in the same way that you did, and when they started noticing your ads telling everyone to just chuck out their plastic and buy new ones, the plastic industry became the prime target for destroying the environment. As a result, America celebrated its first Earth Day in 1970 to raise awareness about the use of plastic and other pollutants. You would go out of business if everyone realized how detrimental plastics are to the environment, how they can't be recycled, and how they kill animals. You would join the hippies and play both sides, as opposed to fighting them, and it succeeded. People began tossing their trash in the trash, which even aided the first few recycling facilities, and the best concept yet replaced those few recycling facilities. By 1970, recyclable plastic items like milk jugs and soda bottles were stamped with the official recycling symbol. The news is good, but the bad news is that milk and soda bottles make up only a small portion of all plastics in use. So clubs no longer need to feel bad about purchasing plastic milk and soda bottles, with most of it being non-recyclable. However, there is still hope because the public has come to associate the symbol with being beneficial to the environment. So all you need to do is seize upon that association. There are 7 distinct codes for identifying resin. However, it worked because consumers were unaware of the significance of these large numbers. Only 2 of the 7 different types of plastics can be recycled. They only noticed what appeared to be a recycling symbol. Therefore, they simply assumed that any plastic item bearing this symbol was recyclable. They were no longer destroying the planet by purchasing plastic. People continued to use plastic as a result, despite the knowledge that recycling it would never be successful, would always be too expensive, and would only be truly useful twice or 3 times. However, that wasn't significant anymore because the public's guilt had been atoned for. People won't be as concerned about the environment if they believe recycling is effective. Although, in theory, these codes should have made it simpler for recyclers to distinguish between recyclables and non-recyclables. The opposite was actually true. Due to the increased amount of trash being thrown into the recycle bin, recycling has become almost impossible. We need to advertise our way out of this. A famous plastic lobbyist once said, "These advertisements were designed to appear as though they were from environmentalists, but they were actually produced by the fossil fuel companies that created all this plastic in the first place." When people were upset, you would fund more recycling programs. When they stopped being upset, you would stop funding those programs. Due to all advertising, single-use plastics like straws, shopping bags, and bottled water were introduced. These products were made of a material that was intended to last forever, but was being discarded after only one use. But don't worry, you can recycle them, increasing the sector's yearly revenue to an absurd $1.2 trillion. Some of the greatest marketers in history include the Diamond Cartel and cigarette companies. However, over time, the public came to be somewhat aware of their practices. However, in the modern plastics industry, very few people are even aware of the trick that was pulled. Reusing some materials makes sense. Aluminum saves a lot of energy. However, virtually everything else is a scam. Even though more and more types of plastic can now be recycled, doing so either costs a lot more than producing more plastic or has negative environmental effects. Recycling paper involves processing like bleaching and de-inking that can further pollute the environment. Even more pollution than recycling itself can be produced when materials are transported to recycling facilities outside of state borders. Not all recycling is beneficial. Cities like Los Angeles used 400 more garbage trucks to collect recyclable waste, the majority of which was never going to be recycled. Today, less than 10% of all plastic is recycled, but what's remarkable is that nobody knows it. Where does the remaining 90% go then? You can see how plastic keeps things safe and fresh when you look at it. Plastic also saves energy because it makes automobiles lighter, which uses less gas. Landfills receive the majority of the 300 million tons of plastic waste produced each year that isn't recycled. However, not all of it makes it there. According to some estimates, 10 million tons of plastic waste enters the ocean every year, which is the equivalent of one garbage truck full of plastic being dumped into the water every minute. This may have happened accidentally when strong winds and rain carried trash into the ocean, or it may have happened because of illegal dumping, with the majority of it coming from Asian nations that we sell our trash to. Additionally, the majority of plastic slowly degrades into smaller and smaller pieces over time, because it is not biodegradable. Microplastics are these minuscule bits of plastic that either accumulate in the middle of the ocean as a layer of sludge or are consumed by fish. This causes issues for everyone. Not only does it harm whales and dolphins, but the same plastic eventually finds its way into almost everything we eat. Our air, water, and soil have been contaminated by decades of plastic use. Eating just a bite of an apple can now mean eating hundreds of thousands of bits of plastic at the same time. Today, we still don't have a clear picture on what the long-term effects of consuming plastic are. Yes, we love plastic so much that we become one with the same material, concocted by plastic and oil giants. It doesn't matter where you land on the political spectrum. I think we can all agree that less trash in the ocean, done on a voluntary manner, not through coercion, is probably a good thing. Even if you don't care about the environment, you should really keep in mind on what plastic can really do to the environment, and little by little, you can do something about this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Have a good one.